So here we are back again.
Again.
Uh, I, I wish we were back here on better terms, but apparently we're not. We're actually back on worse terms. I remember last time we spoke, we were talking about the ATF trying to change the definition or modification of the pistol stabilizing brace on firearms. And we had some good news. They pulled it. I was a little kind of I was happy, but I wasn't too comfortable. And I'm pretty sure you weren't either. But of course, for good reason. So now here we are. We have the ATF getting ready to release a letter, but I believe tomorrow.
It's going to be posted, I think, tomorrow. We have what they're gonna put out there, but yeah, posted some. I think they said something about tomorrow. There was a meeting in Orlando where ATF was doing some kind of symposium of some sort, and they said that I think they said it was going to come out on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So
Gotcha.
we'll see. We'll see. That's the kickoff date, though. That's the kickoff date where everybody needs to start actually responding.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so about the response aspect, there are a lot of people who don't really understand what we mean when we say respond. So can you kind of break that down for people who don't understand? When you say, "Oh, what do you mean respond? What do you want me to do exactly? When we send ATF a tweet, what exactly do you want people to do?"
Yeah, so there is a proper way to respond, and I think what I'll do is I'll end up sending you, the proper way to do that so that you can post it to people. But it's going to be everywhere. People are going to, FPC is going to be showing, where you can respond and how you should respond. FRAC is going to be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
NRA is going to be doing it. GOA is going to be doing it. NAGR is going to. Everybody in the gun industry is going to show you what you need to do in order to respond. And
Yeah, and I'll be putting a link of where you can do that too in this video if you're watching this video as well.
so essentially, they gave us a 71-page document, okay, that we can respond to. And in that document, they've said a whole bunch of things, okay, that they want to do. They want to essentially come up with a new definition of rifle. And in that definition, they want to add stabilizing braces, which is essentially would make every stabilizing, well, that and with this point system that they came up with, which, and I'll be saying this a lot probably during this conversation, is reverse engineered. In other words, the people at ATF reverse engineered a set of guidelines to present to the industry, okay, to make it that 99.9% of cases are going to be considered short-barreled rifles. And
You kind
the
of broke up.
kicker is,
You kind of broke up there for a second. Repeat that again. You were saying 99. You said 99. Pretty much this new point system basically is going to make 99.9% of braces basically, for all intents and purposes, illegal.
right, and the point system that they came up with, okay, um, well, the funny thing is in the beginning of the point system, there's a caveat that says that ATF reserves the right, regardless of points, to assess that the firearm is a short-barreled rifle. That's the caveat at the beginning of this point system. The point system reverse engineered, okay, to essentially make everything a short-barreled rifle. You can even remove a brace from the firearm and go through this point system and fail and have a short-barreled rifle, regardless of the brace.
So it's not just a matter of, oh, I can just take the brace off and then I'll be perfectly fine. There are going to be people out there who, even by doing that, because their particular brand of gun doesn't meet the point system, they'd still be in violation of this law if it actually. And it's not even a law, actually; it's a rule change because ATF
Let me
doesn't make laws.
I agree with you in a way. Okay, yes, it's promulgation of regulation. That's what they're calling it.
Yeah.
The problem is, if you make a regulation, okay, that causes you to go and essentially create a felony, because that's what's happening. I'm going to make ATF's going to make a regulation, and according to that regulation, I am going to become a felon. What is that? Well, it's a regulation. It's not a law. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's semantics at this point.
Yeah.
Something makes me become a felon. That's essentially a law because I'm going to be in a court of law defending myself based on this new regulation. And I
And I
get,
think
go ahead.
and I think the most dangerous aspect of it is the fact that it's retroactive. It's not even that this would really make it that much better, but we're talking about how many braces are out there now?
Yeah, well, so the Congressional Research Service, which is essentially what Congress, it's a group of people that comes up with these studies that Congress uses before they essentially come up with laws. Okay, and what this group came up with, they said there's anywhere between 10 and 40 million. Now, ATF is suggesting that there's something like 3 million. That's way off. There's way more than 3 million braces because we've made more than 3 million braces. And they're suggesting that there are 8 different types of brace makers now. So, what they're trying to do is essentially they're trying to minimize everything. They're saying, well, it's not that big of a deal. There's not that many people. But even if it were just 1 million people,
Yeah.
like we're talking about retroactively, okay, for 9 years now, because I came out with this thing in 2012. After 9 years, you're going to say what? You're going to say that, okay, these things are illegal. If you have them, you either have to hand them in, destroy the firearm, pay a $200 tax, or what? Or you're in possession of a short-barreled rifle, therefore making you a felon, which brings me to the highest point of this discussion. Now, we've just received a document from what should be an agency that is given deference in court because they're the experts, right? And this is the agency that if there's a criminal or something, they call the ATF and the ATF comes and tells you what they've done or what they haven't done, if they've done it right or wrong. Well, this document from an agency that should be given deference according to the law, essentially their whole point is we're going to make tens of millions of people felons. Okay. There is no grandfathering. I mean, it seems like an activist came up with this entire sheet. So we have activists at the ATF coming up with a way to ban in upwards of 10 plus million braces.
But I mean, that's exactly what it is. The people in these positions are activists in many ways. I mean, think about who Joe Biden was recently trying to get nominated to be the new director of the ATF. We're literally, Dave Shipman literally he works for a company that is an anti-gun organization. He is literally an activist in that regard. So you're absolutely right from the standpoint that this is literally written as if it were written by an activist.
Yeah, and I can't get around, and I'm pissed. I really am pissed because it's like we've been trying to work with these people for so long, and this is the best you've come up with again. And this is that they had in Orlando this weekend. The people at ATF who were there virtually said that they were proud of the documents that this NPRM documents that they've proposed to the industry. They're proud of the 80% lower document that they came up with. They're proud of this brace issue. This is a reverse engineered document to make all braces illegal. And the whole purpose of it is what? I mean, we've talked about this before, Colion. We've said ATF's purpose is public safety, right?
Yeah.
The ATF could only mention two events, okay, for that these braces were, ostensibly used in a crime where somebody shouldered them. And they're admitting that there are anywhere between 3, and we know it's more than that, but let's just use their number for a second. If there's 3 million braces and the ATF, which is trying to ban these things, could come up with 2 instances, what public safety issue is it? And to top it off, if short-barreled rifles are really this dangerous weapon that nobody should have, and we're talking about 3 to 10 million people having braced guns, which they're suggesting are short-barreled rifles, and there were only 2 crimes. What kind of dangerous weapon is a short-barreled rifle?
Exactly. That's the aspect of this particular law that nobody wants to talk about. Is if and I know I made a video about this that I haven't released yet, but I said in the video, I'm like, so let me get this straight. If I have a gun that has a barrel that's longer than 16 inches, I don't have to register it, and I don't have to pay $200 tax. However, if that same gun has a less than 16 inch, I mean, we're talking 15 inch, 14 inch, 13 inch, then all of a sudden my gun becomes so dangerous that I need to register it and pay $200 tax. That doesn't make much sense to me. unless it's arbitrary and really honestly designed to make it as hard as possible for people to own a particular gun that they actually are drawn to as far as using for home defense. There's a reason why people want a smaller rifle when it comes to self-defense. Not because it makes it so much more dangerous, it's just easier for us to use, because criminals don't want to use rifles as far as committing crimes are concerned, because they're harder to conceal. So it's not an issue about, oh, we don't want the criminals to have them. Criminals aren't concealing short-barreled rifles like that. They aren't. And then in a lot of the other cases where we talk about AR-15s being used, there are instances where AR-15s, 16-inch AR-15s are also being used to commit mass shootings as well. So as far as I'm concerned, this whole notion that whether the barrel's 16 inches or lower than that or an SBR, it's all BS, and it's all arbitrary in nature, and it's all part of an agenda which has been played out for a very long time now.
Yeah, I mean, and again, this entire document, the word tyranny gets thrown around, pretty often, and I'm not one to just throw it around nilly-willy, but this document that they've come up with, okay, essentially turns law-abiding people into felons overnight through executive fiat for a piece of plastic that does nothing to alter the lethality of the fire itself. And I don't know what to call this otherwise. I mean, if you're in a position working at the ATF where you think coming up with a document that turns law-abiding people into criminals overnight, and you think that that's a good idea, what else do you call that? I don't know what you call that. And you've got the same people that are arguing to release the guys who are doing, burning buildings in these cities, release people for the use of marijuana, which frankly I think is a good idea. Get these people out of prison, because whatever, if it's a marijuana crime, that's another discussion.
Yeah.
The point is, and you want to put people in prison for a product that for the past 9 years you said was okay, but now if you're in possession of it, it's a felony crime.
And that's another thing, and that's another thing that I think doesn't get hashed out is the idea that you submitted your initial brace and got approval of the pistol stabilizing brace. like, you got approval.
I don't want to interrupt you, but this is funny. No. This is the document this is my approval. Okay, we used to put this in all of the boxes when we were with SIG.
Yeah.
This is my approval. Okay, as a prop. Okay, I have this notebook here. All right, and this notebook here used to be a 100-page notebook. I've torn out 30 pages to make it 70 pages. Okay, this notebook is the response that ATF has given the entire industry, including end users, to come up with a way to avoid a felony crime. How is Joe Gunn, living out in some, flyover country state, supposed to take this book here with all of the regs that they just said and come up with something to say, I'm going to avoid going to prison? Why is it that in 2012, this is all it took? And now all of a sudden, this is it? I mean, something's going on here, and it ain't right. And again, that term tyranny gets thrown around a lot. But when you read a document that suggests that people in possession of a piece of plastic, a rubber piece of plastic attached to a firearm, should go to prison in upwards of 10 years, okay, that to me is tyrannical. There's nothing other than any other word other than obscene and disgusting, and the fact that a government should, enter into my life because I've added a piece of plastic to my gun, which does not make it a force multiplier in any way. I mean, it's just crazy. And this is okay, by the way. So in that whole 71 pages, they approved the SB Mini, which is a product that we make, which is based off of this. All we did was we cut off these struts and cut this part off, and we made it a smaller piece to be more economically effective. They've approved that with flip-up sights on an AR-15, okay? This product, where is it? This product, which is an SBM, not adjustable, was approved in a criminal case. So the ATF can't tell me that this is not approved, because in a criminal matter, okay, where a criminal used a firearm in the commission of a crime, they had this brace on it. the criminal department of the ATF said, this is a brace too. Okay. But the reality of it is they're all the same. Okay.
Yeah.
The back of it, the surface area, the flap size, all of this nonsense that they're coming up with points saying, well, the flaps have to wrap around your arm. And yeah, okay. They all wrap around my arm, maybe some less so than others.
Yeah.
But what does that have anything to do with anything? Is it or is it not a brace? And yes, they are braces. All the products that we make are braces.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's weird to me. It's not actually. It's not weird to me. It's not. I mean, what we're doing, what you've demonstrated, especially with the notebook, is that we're playing a game of semantics with an organization that has demonstrated that they're inherently anti-gun. Yes, I do believe that there are some people in the ATF who are pro-gun. I do. However, the people making the decisions at the top, they are not. And I think that's what's most important. And so you have an agency that honestly has a very specific agenda that is not friendly to 2A. And so if you ask me, this is the current administration's attempt, because I guarantee you this is coming at some directive from the top, hands down. This is their attempt to create law without actually having to ever write a law. This is a full frontal attack on the gun community, gun owners, and the gun industry, plain and simple.
Yeah.
And there is no other objective way to explain it, because when you have a device that for years now the ATF said was perfectly okay to put on a firearm, then you have people in the upwards of 10 to 40 million who go out and buy these things with the understanding that they are legal. And then you subsequently, because of 2 shootings, decide to retroactively now say that these things are illegal. To me, that stinks of conspiracy to push an agenda. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, and I mean, what I'll add to that, because what disgusts me about this whole thing is that the ATF themselves, because it's a financial issue, they had to come up with the financial ramifications. And in the document, they're saying that there's going to be billions of dollars in loss, thousands of jobs lost. So there's a huge financial impact. There's a huge jobs impact. They're suggesting that at least 3 companies will be closed down. And yet you move forward with this thing. That's like, well, I don't care about the $1 billion in loss. It's a B, by the way. That's not an M. That's a B, $1 billion in loss. Thousands of people are going to lose their jobs. It's going to cripple the industry. And frankly, that's what these activists at the ATF want to do. And I hate calling people out because it's not fair, but I sat down with Marvin Richardson, who's now the acting director because Chipman hasn't been put in yet. I've sat down with Earl Griffith. I sat down with a meeting with them years ago, and I'm not embarrassed to say that I was almost in tears in this meeting, Colion. I was almost in tears because I had just received a document from them saying that they didn't like the way I was doing my advertising. Okay. And they were, kind of threatening. When you get a government document from the ATF saying cease and desist your marketing, I was like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I got there at the meeting in DC with Earl and Marvin and half of their attorneys there. And you can't see it here, but I had all of my braces on the table, all of them.
Yeah.
And almost in tears, I was like, guys, I've got, 50 people in a warehouse that I got to, like, you guys got to tell me if I'm doing something wrong, tell me. Yeah. Is something wrong with any of these braces that I have here? And with a straight face and Earl sitting right next to me and Marvin sitting across from me, you're taking it too seriously. You're fine. You're okay. And I can't tell you how many times I've met with these people with a straight face. They told me I'm okay. And the reality of it is that they're liars. They lied to me. They lied to me in the presence of my wife. They lied to me in the presence of my children because I was there at an event, telling me that everything was going to be okay. And yeah, I can almost excuse them that over time things may change and they need to kind of change the way they're doing things. But this document, this is not the way you do it. Trying to change the definition of rifle, okay, not pistol, rifle, by adding a stabilizing brace to the definition of a rifle is obscene because the product isn't made for rifles.
Yeah.
The product's made for
Yeah, for
pistols.
pistols.
So
Yeah.
if anything, what you should be doing is including stabilizing brace in the definition of a pistol.
Pistol. Yep.
And the idea that a pistol, which is intended to be fired with one hand, and when I first wrote, and they're quoting me in this 71 page, that I said, well, it's intended to assist people with the firing of these large weapons with one hand. That doesn't mean that they're just going to fire it with one hand. Nobody fires a pistol. I mean, yes, you can fire it old style with one hand, but you're always firing one hand and one hand supported like that.
Yeah.
Everybody does
Everything.
that.
Yeah, exactly. Like I have a pistol now. Exactly. I fire two hands. Yeah.
So and so they're, in this document, they're also saying that any of these shotguns now that have stabilizing braces on them are considered short-barreled shotguns because those were never intended to be fired with one hand. I'm thinking to myself, well, yeah, they were never intended to be fired with hand, but a stabilizing brace assists people with limited ability in firing those weapons. So the question then back at ATF is, which orthotist, which prosthetist did you use to come up with the understanding of how orthotics and prosthetics work for people with limited mobility? Because the suggestion in this document here in section 2 is that adjustable or telescoping attachments are only designed for shouldering. Okay? Because crutches are, the reason that there's an adjustability of it is for different size people. A stock, yeah, it's for different size people. A brace, and when they approved this thing here, which was the one that goes on the back of the MPX, I sat down with Bill Ryan. And Bill Ryan and I, and my attorney and some other attorneys, we explained to them, adjustability is so that if it fits here on me, it might fit somewhere else.
Somewhere different too. Yep.
That's the purpose of it. So why would you put a document that says that it's only telescoping attachment designed for shouldering? It's not designed for shouldering.
It's not. Nobody's taking a stock off of a rifle and replacing it with a brace.
No.
Nobody. Because the brace is a shitty stock. It's a shitty stock. I mean, it's not a stock. That's why it's a shitty stock. So it's amazing to me that
this thing is totally. All of our products are super. They're malleable. They move in all directions. Like if you want to put a stock on it, at that point, I guess put a stock on it, and it's hard. I mean, yeah. I don't know, man. I'm just. This is our 1934. Okay, and 1934 is what? National Firearms Act.
Yep.
Okay. This is our battle, okay? This is our generation's battle for what they did in 1934 and what they did in 1986. Because if they're able to put this document into play and turn people into felons overnight, imagine what the IRS could do for a second. Let's just talk about another agency. 30 seconds, Colion. Yep. What if the IRS in 2012, when I came up with this product, said, listen, if you buy this thing, we're going to give you a $200 tax credit. You won't have to pay $200 in taxes, okay? And then 9 years later, comes up and says, yeah, we were wrong. Retroactively, everybody who ever did that has to give us, however many times you use that tax credit, you got to give us the money now.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if this is the precedent that we're setting?
Yep.
It's ridiculous, not to mention that the $200 tax, if I read it correctly, is for the manufacture of a short-barreled rifle. How are you going to tax all these people? They never manufactured it. So you're going to tell them what? You're going to tell them that they have to pay for it even though they didn't manufacture it?
Yeah. That sounds like extortion.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that sounds like. So now, next step. What's the next step? For all the people who are watching this video, and all the people that are going to watch this video, what would you have them do? I already know the answer, but what would you have them do?
Well, so we were...
how do we stop this?
Yeah, we were successful back in December because something and upwards of 80,000 people in 2 to 3 weeks wrote letters to the ATF, okay? And they pulled it, okay? It was essentially something along these lines. We were fortunate at that time because we still had Trump, not that he helped out that much, but he was there. And I don't think they're going to pull this. But what they're going to have to do is respond to everybody that writes to these people. They have to do that. Now, then afterwards, they can come up with whatever they want to do. In fact, they don't even have to listen if they don't want to, because the president's got the ATF's ear and he can decide that he wants to do that.
Yeah.
The thing is, when you go to court and you have bags full of responses from people who are valiantly trying to defend either the use of the brace or the obscenity of how this point system essentially makes people criminals retroactively and in reverse to prove that these people are criminals, that's compelling when you go to court.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what we're setting ourselves up for here. I mean, SB Tactical is going to need all the help it can get through all of the other gun agencies that are out there, the pro-gun people that I mentioned before. And if we can get people to,
it's not even just SB Tactical. Do you know how many new gun buyers went out and bought pistols that had braces on them? So it's not just about saving SB Tactical, because I know a lot of people are gonna be like, well, you know, that's them, that's their problem. No. This is your problem too.
yeah,
Like, as far as the people are concerned, because there are tons of people out there who bought these things. So it is a much bigger deal than just, okay, an industry thing. It is the industry, it is the gun community, it is gun owners. Because I guarantee you the vast majority of people watching this have a gun with a brace on it. I'm almost certain of it.
it's more than one too.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't know, man. I think, again, going back to this document, anybody who reads it, you know, is going to be like, this document is really just a document that is attempting to ban braces for all intents and purposes. And essentially, the beginning of it, the caveat, which is in the notes section of the point system, essentially saying that ATF reserves the right to decide that it's a short-barreled rifle anyway, doesn't help anybody. There's nothing in here that's going to help anybody. I mean, the point system essentially originally was done with imports, okay? Yeah. And imports are companies. Companies are importing guns. They need to have a set of rules that they can use to understand what guns they can and can't import, okay? This whole thing here is set up not only for companies, essentially it's made for end users as well. How are end users supposed to read through this morass of 71 pages and understand anything? I mean, you're an attorney, but I have trouble reading this. I've got attorneys reading it for me, and they have problems understanding this.
I was reading it last night. I had to stop and go get a drink to finish it. So, yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
So
it's random. It's arbitrary. I don't know who's coming up with these numbers. 64 ounces all of a sudden is a number that we need to worry about. If it's under 64 ounces, you can't put a brace on it, which is ridiculous. Like, if you put a brace on a Glock, it'll help somebody who's smaller fire a Glock because it mitigates the recoil. Yep. You're the expert. ATF is supposed to be the expert, and they're telling me these things. They're not experts. They're activists. Yep. And we have proof now. This document is proof that the people at the ATF are not interested in working with the industry. In fact, they're working against the industry, and these people should be gone. I think all of these people have demonstrated a lack of any kind of deference, not deference, any kind of impartiality. They're not impartial. These are people working for the Brady campaign or for Moms Demand Action, you know, and you don't want these people in a court of law, you know, either defending or going against somebody because they're not impartial. Would you want somebody from Moms Demand Action being the expert testimony? Or, you know, would you want somebody, look at the flip side, would you want somebody from the NRA to be the impartial person? They're not impartial because we're pro-gun.
Pro-gun, yeah, exactly.
People are supposed to be impartial. And this document is not impartial, which means that the agency, which lacks a head, a political head, is still not impartial.
Impartial, yeah. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So for the people watching this video, I implore you, I'm going to leave a link in the bottom section of this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, it will be in the description section. If you're watching this on Instagram, it will be in the comment section. If you're watching this on Facebook, it'll be in the description section. I'm going to post this everywhere. Submit a comment. Be respectful, but submit a comment. Submit a comment. Trust me, it does a lot. The more people that we have submit comments, the better. And trust me, this affects you, even if you think it doesn't. So, Alex, thank you for coming on and kind of breaking down what's going on with the ATF. I'm going to have my video coming out about it as well. But we're going to be out there. We're going to be out there in full force, fighting for sure.
I'm here for anybody who needs to reach out. I mean, I know that we've got if somebody needs, they want some more clarity, we have for SB Tactical at least, we have a section where you can write us an email. Mm-hmm. I get those emails. I get a lot of them, but I read them.
Yeah.
People do have ideas or questions and they need a hand with something. We're here to help in any way we can.
Awesome. Well, all right, we're going to keep at it, man. It's 10 toes to the ground.
Thanks, brother.
All right, man. Today, there was another growing gun confiscation request in all 50 of our states requesting to confiscate our AR-15s. We want the government to know what would happen if they tyrannically passed their so-called assault weapons ban. I will not comply is a symbolization of defiance against politicians, anti-gunners, and any other tyrannical entity looking to deprive you or your Second Amendment right as put forth in the Constitution of the United States. I'm sure the YouTube algorithm is going to do a phenomenal job of suppressing this message. So please share this video with as many people as you can so we can beat the algorithm and get our two-way message out to the masses. Also, don't forget to like this video and leave a comment and hit the bell and subscribe button. Let my voice be your voice and let them know you want to keep America tactical, because the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed wasn't a suggestion, it was a directive. Also, if you're wondering where to purchase your AR-15s are essential, I will not comply. I am the militia. I lost all my guns in a boating accident, and your state-specific Keep America Tactical shirt. Click the link next to my head or the link in the description section, or if you're watching this on a mobile device, tap the small triangle on the lower right-hand side of this video and click the link in the description.